Hi everybody. I'm Clarence Carson. I'm the president of CCRS Group in Chicago, Illinois. Very excited to be here. Speak at a lot of different engagements as well around the country and talk about facilities management, capital construction, and a lot of organizational leadership and operational efficiency. All fun things that a lot of times we all want to do. We never really have time to really address, and we get yelled at a lot for not doing them the best we can. That's what I specialize in, helping out organizations with. I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Perfect. So, thanks for joining us. John Reimer with FM360, president, senior consultant, and I've been in the facilities industry for, I just start rounding up and just saying getting close to 30 years. So, love this industry, and it's kind of why I got into doing what I do. And, this particular conversation that we're going to have today is actually a continuation of one that started at NFMT earlier this year. What did we make it through? 2 questions?
Yeah, we didn't get very far.
Yeah, we've got 3 questions to get through. If we only get through 1 or 2 of them, that's okay, because hey, we can just do this again, right? We'll go for the trifecta. But I want for this definitely to be an opportunity for us to ask questions and to engage. Because I actually want to also learn from you all as to what has and has not been working for you with respect to this. So we've got Dan showing up with us. We just did our intros, Dan.
Sure. Sorry I'm late. You know how long it took to give away $500? We said you had to be present, so I thank you for choosing education over the drawing, but 3 or 4 people could have been $500 richer, and we're not.
I was talking to them earlier about money being under their seat. What if actually money was in the other room? I didn't know that part.
That's right.
Oh, man. So with this presentation, too, like John just said, it's going to be very interactive, too. So not only will we be talking, we will be kind of pulling you all in. I mean, definitely, Seth, Ryan, Doug, you will be called on. Make sure you know. I can read very far. I can read these names very far. So be prepared, Ryan and Seth especially. And Doug, definitely, you will be called on.
See, that's why they didn't sit up front, though.
No, it doesn't matter. They sit 2 rows in, so you get called.
Well, I don't even know why I showed up. I don't need to be here. But thank you all for coming. My name is Dan Welton. I'm the editor-in-chief of our facility group, which includes the website facilitiesnet.com and the magazines Building Operating Management and Facility Maintenance Decisions. And on stage, we have 2 of our facility influencers who help us with content development and content itself. And so we're really pleased to have both Clarence and John here. They gave part of a panel discussion at our NFMT Baltimore show. We had come up with a whole list of questions that we thought we'd get through. We got through 3. So we're happy to hear to kind of continue that discussion. This was the second half of that, so you don't need to be at the previous one because this is a different topic itself. And we're really talking about staffing issues, recruiting, building your team for the future. If you were in the general session, there was a show of hands of people who've been here 20, 30, 40 years. Kudos to y'all, but someday that's going to end. You're going to retire, hopefully happily retire, and you're going to need those replacements. And we hope the discussion today gets you on the right path for that. Did you guys do full bios without me, or did you want to start with your background?
I think, depends how much deeper you want to go into.
I can go a whole bunch deeper, I guess, but I also want to highlight I'm trying to get some of that Starry money now. So I have the Starry cup here too, the little can. If they're looking at this, maybe they'll, give me like a shirt.
I didn't see Starry on the show floor, but maybe next time we can get them here.
Maybe next time. So I'll go a little bit deeper. So again, I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan. I grew up actually with a family who are entrepreneurs in construction and development. They actually created their own company in Detroit, Michigan, of a high school diploma. My mother and my father actually created everything from grocery stores to laundromats, and also their own construction management and demolition company. They hired people who didn't always know the work itself, but had more heart than knowledge. But it simply kind of grew in that work together. I worked in that group, for many years, as well as my siblings and so on. Went to Michigan State University for construction management. And not only construction management as a minor, but also urban regional planning as a minor for that degree as well. And I have a master's degree too in construction management with a minor in facilities management. Wrote a thesis. I'm a real nerd. You just can't tell. So I did all that. I was a teaching assistant, lab assistant, taught class also in Italy for a little bit of time too. have another executive MBA at Howard University in executive administration or business administration or something like that. And I've also worked a very long time in this industry. Construction management, built a building for a person running for president right now, as well as a lot of other stuff in Chicago and kind of outside of that. So so a lot of the experience I bring, yes, it is pre-construction services. Yes, it is construction management and general contracting and also owner's rep work as well, and facilities management, and also as internal audit stuff too. But it's really about the people, right? When you really get into the contracts and the people that's in those who really do the work, it really is about the people who wake up in the morning and they're in the trailers at 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning, they open up the gates. The people who actually start up the machinery, start up the generators, who are really out there walking in the mud every day, and that's something that I also worked in and really enjoyed. And the facility side is a continuation of that. So you look at it really as a built environment, which really are the words we use now, right? It's the built environment. It's not just the designers, it's not just the planners, we could call even before that, it's not just the owners, it's really the facility managers too, who really continue and keep it going. And I'm someone who is glad to be a student of it and have worked in it truly with my hands and with my mind, and now be able to consult in it. So that's like a little deeper, wider version of me.
Where'd your master's in construction with minor in facilities management, where did you get that from?
Michigan State as well.
Okay. So that might be something, because we'll hit on that a little bit later. I think it was question number 3 for today was, certifications and degrees.
We'll see if we get to 3.
Yeah, if we
we'll
make
see.
it that far.
I blame John. I don't blame. I like to keep things very short.
Walk lightly and carry a big shovel. That's what I say. Anyway, so yeah, I actually a mechanical engineer by training, but I got into facilities actually as an intern in Intel when I lived in Arizona. So that kind of gets to one of the questions that we'll hit a little bit later is the value of internships. I actually wanted to design cars. My wife did not want to go to Michigan. She's a sunshine gal, so But hey, that's okay. Intel got me in the door on the facility side, and I've been in facilities ever since. And again, that's getting close to 30 years. On the design construction, before I started FM360, just over a dozen years ago, I actually was managing and built a commissioning and also test and balance team, where we handled the whole inland Northwest. So I kind of know the West pretty darn well. And part of that reason was to help take that, to bridge that gap, right, from design construction to operations and maintenance, because I got tired of being on the receiving end of, the taillight treatment, right? They throw that football over the fence at you, or I joke that it's more of that flaming bag of what left sitting on your front porch. That's kind of what it feels like at times. So yeah, I think, training and things that we're going to talk about today, just hopefully start filling this gap. And with that, I'm kind of curious. So when you guys did your survey in the general session of like, hey, you've been in the industry for so long, how many of you are trying to find, let's say, or trying to recruit that next up and coming facility manager, coordinator, et cetera, that you just can't find them? Okay. So and then how many of you are trying to find more of the technical trades side of it? Okay, so similar show of hands. All right, so I just want to make sure we're addressing both of those as we roll forward. Okay.
Actually, I have one more layer to that. How many of you are trying to figure out your next step as well in your career?
Besides some beach somewhere or a golf course or something.
Yeah, so I mean, I was just telling this actually to Doug. I use names when I refer to people. I was talking to Doug, and I was talking about how so many different organizations' leadership actually comes from facilities. People don't all recognize that in schools, but now also in hospitals as well. The chief operating officer in organizations, a lot of those top organizational spots are people who are rooted in facilities management, because again, we talk to HR, we talk to IT, we talk to procurement. We actually manage the most assets and usually the most stuff, the most risk as well within our area, fail and success, even though we're kind of in the back boiler rooms of spaces. But again, as soon as you walk on the grounds, you see that grass, that starts us. As soon as you leave that city concrete sidewalk, that starts us. So a lot of those roles really should lead to upper management, truly upper management, if we are also poised and prepared and ready for it as well, which means all the certifications and all the trainings and all the polish as well, because now you got to go up there and make these speeches and point and look smart as you make these points, declarations, and budgetary talks and so on. But it's also about you all being prepared, and then the people below you also getting prepared too. Now you see we only got through 2 questions. John just keeps on going and going and going. Jeez, John.
I'm sorry, I work on it.
And Dan too. Jeez.
Well, we just saw the show of hands. You're both looking for not only, the skilled trades, but kind of that next step. And what we don't have in the industry is young talent for both those positions, especially the trades. So we want to start with, how do we attract young professionals to this industry? Where should we look? How do we get them excited to join an industry they probably never heard of?
So if I could, I'm gonna jump in at one age and I'm gonna go back a little bit. So again, I went to Michigan State for construction management, and though my parents did it, and though like my brother went to Michigan State as well, and those kind of things, I didn't know construction management was a degree. I had no idea. And I'm sure the same thing goes for facilities management being a degree. I mean, there's like Ferris State University and some other schools as well that are really good at it, and Georgia State and so on that are really good at facilities management. But most people don't go to school for these kind of degrees. They may go for engineering, architecture, and that kind of thing. I actually wanted to go to Michigan State for architecture, and this is how bogus it was. I got into Michigan State, went to my first day of class, which was orientation, walked into class, sat down, and I'm sitting listening to people talking around me. And again, I wanted to be an architect.
We won't hold that against you.
Thank you very much. You're right. You're right. And I see these like drawings on the chalkboard. I'm like, what are those? Those look like buildings. And people around me are talking about like parks, and they're talking about like camp and different things. And then the person walks in and says, "Welcome everyone to Landscape Architecture 101. I'm like, what the heck is this? I don't want to draw trees. So eventually, and again, this talks about like the education from my counselor in my high school to the on-site admissions person, how they all failed to recognize that this degree path is like really distinction of these pathways in STEM, to the point where I ended up just walking out of the room, walking down the hallway, and bumped into construction management. And that's how I started in construction management from there on. It was a whole thing. So we're talking about how to get people in this area, young people. It's about, one, exposure, and not exposure when they've already gotten into college and then have to go bump into somewhere down the hallway. Talking about all the times we see kids talking about STEM programming that either are related to us or those in our environments, museum and science and industry, or kind of scientific anything. Make sure that we are a part of it, that we volunteer, our organizations are a part of that too, our departments are we're putting on little lessons learned within our departments as well, that we're trying to get the word out there first when the kids are young, really young, to be exposed to know these, not just our career paths, but they're also educational paths to get into this work too, and it's not just only coming in from the trades only, even though that is a really solid way to do it.
Yeah, and I think Dan kind of hit it on the head when he said earlier that there's a lot of folks who don't even know that facility management, as an industry exists. I mean, I would say that we're probably in the teenage phase, if you wanted to try to put an age range on our industry, where we're still in that process of trying to, figure out what we want to be when we grow up. But it's, still kind of that wrestling with, fitting into, what do we look like? So to Clarence's point of we're starting to get more seats at the table, right? Which, 10, 20 years ago, that absolutely was not the case. We were stuck down in the boiler room. So we're at least advancing in that regard. But as a industry, so degrees, there are still very few universities that actually offer degrees in facility management. I'm out of Charlotte, North Carolina now, and they've got, you can get a master's in it, but it's through their construction management program, right? Construction management's usually the main entry point. One of our local facility management chapters, we're actually trying to take a step back and partner even down at the community college level. And I'm like, hey, we need to go even further back than that and actually get into high school. So again, leveraging the STEM programs, but of just trying to get our feet in the door and develop partnerships with ideally high school, but definitely at that college level and then university level, so that you can start educating and recruiting at that point. But it's one thing to get your foot in the door. The second part is what the heck are you going to sell them? Because that's the other thing that I think that we have still failed as an industry, is that we have not really developed a clear path for development within facility management. Because it might be one thing to come in the door, but it's like, well, what does that position evolve to? Even if it's on the trade side, right? Because eventually, I used to teach building operator certification a lot out west here, and that was one of the questions I'd get from some of these, these techs that would sit there going, hey, I'm getting a little too old to be climbing up this ladder or crawling on my belly underneath the floor. So how do I move into supervisor, manager, et cetera? I'm glad they asked me that, but gosh, their own company that they work for should have had that outline for them. So I think as we start, again, as you guys are trying to figure out how do I get people in the door, you got to show them that there's a path for them to continue to advance and excel. So they see, facility management, right, is a legitimate career path. Because right now, I don't think they know about it. I mean, I joke that I still try to explain to my mama what I do for a living, right? I mean, so it's tricky. But the more that we can continue to get the word out and engage these folks at that younger age and show them how they can use the skill sets that they're learning in math, science, et cetera, to actually, provide for their families and have a career path, the better. I'll give you an example of when I lived in Idaho, one of the things that we did, we worked with a K-12. We did a major construction project, and we were using basically, I'll say ground source, but it was water source heat pumps. And part of that was to educate not just the students, but even their parents, because it's public school, so they're going to be paying for this. They needed to understand where all their tax dollars were going. We actually turned the buildings into a teaching tool, so that we basically, because of fire code, we couldn't exactly remove the ceiling tile and show the water source heat pump, but we actually did a screen print of it and had it there. We showed them where you could see into the boiler room, and then incorporated that into the science and the math classes, just to continue to educate them. Look, see, the things that you are learning, because how many of you loved math and science in school? Okay, so I mean, I've got a few of my kids are like, yes, actually I have like one. I've got 5 kids, and really only one of them is like math and science. The other ones are like, no. But a lot of folks aren't tuned to that because they don't really see, well, when am I ever going to use this? But if we can start getting ourselves engaged, even in elementary school, because I wrote a script for Wally the water molecule to explain the refrigeration cycle to 10-year-olds, okay? And it was really more for the parents. But it was to explain that refrigeration cycle, but then also to show, look, this is how it works within your building, so they could see that math and science that they're learning being applied even in the spaces they're sitting at a young age. It just starts waking up their minds and then start taking them down that path. So again, it makes the impetus be more on us to try to get those young folks involved. And again, yes, university level's great, college, but even let's see if we can get back down into high school.
Doug, did you have a question?
I was just going to feed off of what they're exactly saying. So within our school district, and I'm locally with Las Vegas and Southern Nevada, is that we're doing a conservation effort, our efforts on energy and water conservation. And part of that was building curriculum for each one of those schools, even at the elementary level. And to note to Dan, and one of the things that we actually wrote on and through their publications was finding the next facility managers through these STEM programs.
Yep, absolutely spot on. And I think even with the energy and conservation efforts, really one of the best things that we can do for energy and conservation is just to do your maintenance, right? And so then that starts feeding into, hey, how do you want to continue to improve our sustainability? It's like, well, then go into the trades. Make sure that the maintenance is getting done, because again, there's many of you that are probably very short-handed, and so that kind of forces you into that reactive firefighting mode because you can't go do your PMs. So it's extremely inefficient from an energy standpoint, but also from a cost standpoint.
So I know we're talking about also, again, high school and so on, but let's also talk about the fact, let me back up on that. So a lot of schools themselves should be feeders to this next part, high schools especially. In Chicago Public Schools, where I'm in Chicago, they have a lot of programs that are in schools that are meant for students to get exposed to these areas, but at the same time, the departments have a lot of turnover. So next thing you know, the effectiveness of those programs are not always that great. It takes a lot more volunteering for people like us who are in the industry as well to kind of go back and speak and that kind of thing too. It kind of feels like parent-teacher, a parent, was it career day, but kind of really, playing a role in that area as well. And also, too, not only do a lot of colleges not have FM as a part of the degrees, but that doesn't mean you still can't go. Most people who end up in FM or in construction were probably like packaging or construction management or some other area as well. And let's just say they didn't make it to the upper school, and then they kind of like zigzagged, and then now they need to land somewhere else. So that's kind of like right for the plucking when it comes to this next group of people who might want to get into this work. And again, I know you're talking about college and so on, and we can talk about certificate programs as well, IFMA and all these other ones as well that are out there too, that are strong leading learning institutions to help out with this kind of thing as well.
Yeah. How many of you actually went to school to go into facility management? See, that's what I thought. So how many of you got sucked into facility management? Okay. Yeah, I joke. It's like the black hole, right? But again, that reemphasizes we all had different entry points into getting into this wonderful world of FM. And, internship was what got me in the door. How many of you offer internships, apprenticeships in your current organization now? Work studies? Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's huge.
There you go. So I would encourage you to provide those opportunities. And again, not just in the university and college level, but maybe even down to the high school level, just to start piquing that interest. How many of you even job shadowing? It's like I've got 5 kids and they've all kind of gone through where they're like, hey, I want to go get a job to, Chick-fil-A or whatever. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I want you to work, but how about you go focus and try to even do some job shadowing? Yes, you might not get paid, but go explore these different areas that you might be interested in, because as a dad, I really don't want to spend all that thousands of dollars to send them towards a degree that they're going to go, I changed my mind. But again, it allows that opportunity for them to start navigating and seeing what's available out there, which then means you have to have your doors open to say, yes, come in and job shadow. Let me bring you under the wing so you can see what this is like.
You brought up something, man. Oh man, I totally forgot about the importance of this, and you already kind of brought it up already. Internships.
Mm-hmm.
So many organizations don't offer internships anymore. I don't know why that is. It's just kind of moving forward. We're hiring. We don't go back for internships. John, you said you had internships when you were in school as well.
Mm-hmm.
I had internships even, every summer I had an internship, except for the one summer I worked at the physical plant, actually for the university directly, but all others I had internships, and actually with different companies. Because I was, and though they want to bring you back every time as well, I just had varied experiences, which were good. It helped me understand kind of what I wanted to do and what I didn't want to do. But how many of you all in your organizations now offer internships or have gone to universities and offered an internship? So we're here to talk about how to bring up the next group of leaders into our areas, but that's kind of like low-hanging of the low-hanging of low-hanging fruit. And then we're talking about high school students and exposing them with words and with lessons, but like they don't, even though the universities don't have FM programs, may not even have CM programs, 99.99% of the time they're going to have engineering. That's us, right? That is so us, and it may not just be mechanical engineering. It can be other types of engineering as well. That's still us. So architecture is a lot of these schools as well. They have that too. They may have other branches off of that too. Why not go to those? The cost for dealing with a bunch of students and a bunch of student organizations to be in their summer job fairs, it's pretty low cost to get into. And of course, it's high benefit for you all. And you're paying them lower wages, not low wage, but lower wages to still be your interns. They're being exposed, and you're finding your people right there, and you'll be able to maybe manage them over the next several summers. And who knows, it makes them want to work for you all during school too. And then now you have this whole group of other people that are entering in to your programs.
Yeah, it gives you a chance to do a little trial basis for some of those that you're trying to figure out if you want to bring them on board or not.
Does anyone with an internship program want to share how they got it started and how successful it's been?
It was 2 of you all. I saw you. I saw you. There you go.
All right.
I saw you back there too. I was going to call on you too.
Hi. Yes, my name is Luigi. Well, for me, it's a little bit different because I'm not in the States. So I work on an island in the Caribbean. It's called Curaçao. on golf and beach resort you mentioned before, right? So we are more connected to Europe than to US. We got the internship. When I started in the company 2 years ago, they stopped the internship like, a long time. So that was one of the first things that I started, connected immediately with university in Holland, in this case, in the Netherlands. And it's incredible how quick the reaction was and how, I would say, how excited those young guys are to actually come and have a different experience. So we built it up from scratch, me and my team. And we got in a year like at least 6, the first year, 6 guys that were studying facility management in Europe. And they had a great experience. Some stayed 3 months, some stayed 6 months. And now every year is like becoming more and more. So now every year we have at least 5 to 8 young guys that are coming to the island to work as in facility management.
That's all. Now, who wouldn't want to do an internship in the Caribbean, though? I mean,
Yeah.
I want to go.
Yeah, sign me
You're
up.
welcome. You're welcome. I'm like desperate. I need
I
as
love
many
that.
people as you can find.
I love that. Well, and that is it's a challenge even with some of the students now they're trying to find internships, and I'm just amazed at how few. And to Clarence's point, all you really got to do is reach out to the School of Engineering, Construction Management. Those are really good schools that just say, hey, we have this opportunity, and then you'll hopefully start seeing some people come in because they are looking. They are looking.
Or your own staff. I mean, one of our readers at Kent State, he starts with his janitorial staff and interning them into, a maintenance technician and that. And it's a few more dollars, and, it's the next step up.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a pretty awesome one because most of us have that same, I don't know. I'm gonna choose my words on this one. There tends to be a division of labor and a ceiling for those that are in custodial, and those are typically in engineering, and those are typically reflected in the facilities management leadership. Let's just say there are shades of variances in those scenarios. So why not also consider those same people that are right in front of us as well, that may have had a barrier at education, may have any other barriers as well, and give them a chance to be a part of those interns. They know the buildings better than most of us. Mm-hmm. Right, those who are in that, we say frontline workers, they essential workers that were all on the front lines, many of us, but as well as them as well, really pushing the broom, really, cleaning those spaces for us as well. Why not give them also a chance to be effective and have a, more well-rounded leadership role with more training in those upper levels? So that'd be a huge one.
Yeah,
Young
question
lady
over
in the back.
there.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. Jan is actually correct. We cannot do internship because where I work, we are bound by licensing. So we can't have individuals who don't have specific background checks to work with our children. So Dan hit it on the head, like we grow our own. So basically we develop our team. There's some, we have maintenance custodial workers, teachers who see what we do and then want to advance. And so my company offers, some of our maintenance techs they just have high school diplomas. And so one of the advancements that we do to help develop our team is to give them, if they get an AA, a BA, an MA, we give them a 2.5% raise off the bat.
Nice.
So what was that one again? What were those levels?
An AA, BA, or an MA.
Okay. That's
And we give
fantastic.
them 2.5%. And so that incentive allows them to have more autonomy and want to drive go further within their career. And we have a lot of staff who has built that, and like I said, we grow our own.
And what type of organization are you at?
I work for Head Start.
Okay.
So I work for a Head Start organization. So other than facilities management, I'm also part of our transportation fleet. And so with our transportation fleet, CDL drivers are hard to come by, so we are actually growing our own.
Yep. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier the building operator certification, the BOC. How many of you are familiar with that? Yeah, I know it's really strong more out west here. Now I'm in the Carolinas, less so. But what I used to teach was the BOC, and some of the facility managers would purposely send their custodial staff to it because, again, usually you have at least a 2-to-1 ratio of custodial staff versus your wrench turners. And so you just multiply the number of eyes and ears that are looking for things. And I remember one of the facility managers said, the reason I send them is because when they come back, they now start walking through the buildings like this, right? They're observing and they're trying to take it in. And so that might give you the opportunity to see who has the interest and the propensity to even want to go down that path so you can continue to invest in them. So yeah, I mean, and that is, if you can't go find them outside, start recruiting within and feed into them, which I think probably leads to a little bit to the second question.
Well, if I could, so before we get to that one, I'm in Chicago, and I'm kind of reflecting on, your point about growing from within, and even want to look at the levels in which, again, we're talking about trying to find that next group of people. So we're a union town, but we also have private work as well. When I reflect even on the union agreements that are present within our locals, they're on a lot of levels. It's like custodian, then it's like lead custodian, but it's like you're going to get there like in year 50. You're not going to get there for the next many years. You're going to have this one level, and then you get to engineer. There's engineer, senior engineer. Then like I think it's like regional engineer or something like that. But then that's a little bit more of a level there. But again, that's kind of capped. And then you have facility manager, if you ever can get there, to like senior manager. But there's really is not the pyramid itself. It's really not a pyramid. It's really like little rectangles. It's like this is all you get to do. This is all you get to do, and this is all you get to do really as well. And we're really not focusing on blending those layers. We don't look to our custodians to really be our FMs. We don't look to our building engineers to really be our FMs as well. It's like be a better custodian, be a better wrench turner, be a better engineer, be super engineer. That's all you can do, but not really becoming our next FMs and our next COOs and chief facilities officers and so on. So just something to also keep in mind too.
Mm-hmm. So say we find these people to fill these vacancies, now we want to move on to onboarding and training and getting them on that path to hopefully be your replacements, one day. So what are kind of the best practices and the steps for doing that and setting that in motion?
If I could, so a lot of there's going to be a lot of certifications. There's going to be a lot of certifications that you have to go after for yourselves and be a great example of them, speaking on behalf of them, really understanding which ones to go to, which ones are waste, and which ones are not, and then also replicating with others. I'm going to highlight one that I really believe in because it's really specific, and I think it's like super targeted to kind of blow your mind on how you address this thing that we all walk past every day. Right? I'm going to bring up APA, right? So just custodial, so Association of Physical Plant Administrators, really focusing on the 5 levels of clean. We all take it for granted every day, clean, dirty. We all write contracts for vendors every day right now, and we all think we know what levels of clean we expect out of our staffs or out of our vendors and so on, and we really don't. Right? I remember when I learned about the 5 levels of clean from APA, blew me away. And the shame of it was, the good thing was I was able to write that into my vendor agreements for Chicago Public Schools when I was there and also for the clients too, which was great. But I didn't have enough of an opportunity nor enough of a budget to send everyone to go see it. So now I'm kind of like a preacher preaching about it, and everyone's like, what's the message? What are you really saying? But I couldn't send everyone there. That is a great one to start at that teaches leadership development and truly this layer of understanding. I know there's all a CMMS and it's everything else as well, but just base, is the building clean? It's kind of like hot or cold. Is it clean or is it dirty? And that was one I thought that for the next level of leaders in FM, just understanding APA. Yes, it says it's about schools, but really it's about conveying clean and dirty and the 5 levels of clean in any facility, in any space, and understanding the calculations and everything for it as well. That's a base one that you could send anyone who's an entry-level person into or someone who's more complex in their years as well.
I'll ask a question to you all is, how many of you as a facilities department organization have a department-specific vision and or mission statement?
Oh, yeah, great.
Okay. That to me is one, if you don't have that, you need to get that, right? And it should tie back to your organization's vision, mission, right, to some extent, because you got to be able to see, hey, this is what we're trying to do as a facilities entity. It had better align with what your organization's doing. Otherwise, you might find yourself working yourself out the door. But that to me is, when somebody gets onboarded, they got to go through all the HR rigmarole, right? Check those boxes. And then, yes, you got to do the safety training. But darn it, you better get them on board with what the vision is that you're trying to implement within your organization. So if you don't have that fully vetted and clear, then how the heck are you going to be able to relay that to those folks you're onboarding? So that's would be my encouragement to you, is make sure that you get your facility vision, mission, or even do a combo, call it a vision statement, I don't care. But get something developed so that you say, hey, this is what we're about, and this is what we're trying to accomplish. This is how we support our internal customers and even external customers.
So that's like a foundational matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So you're talking about, so the question was about, building staff and everything else, but like first is who are we as an organization, and how are we making sure that we're aligned with that organization too, and also when we go to them for money, they know we're aligned so they can actually give us the money, right? So I'm gonna just like, a few of you all raised your hands a moment ago about your organization having missions. Maybe your departments may have a mission too. Can anyone loosely recite what their organizational mission is? If it's about education, if it's about healthcare, whatever there might be, any kind of loose statement of what their mission is. I see you.
Yep,
So I'll give you an example. So again, like everyone, I've had a lot of different lives. And one of my lives, I was at Chicago Public Schools, and I was the chief facilities officer there. And very much of what John's talking about right now is about, as a department, we didn't have a mission. And a lot of organizations, they kind of, especially with the school districts, they change the CEOs and so on. They kind of change their mission statement, their goals and so on. Really their launch pad of what they're going to do. And ours at the time was about providing top-notch educational instruction to students, something, right? And essentially, I kind of came right underneath that and developed one for the department with input from the department. And ours was something around creating educational learning environments that were something, but also safe, warm, and dry, right? It was like really grabbed onto theirs, made sure. So when it comes to budget season, it was like, well, we've all committed to providing this streamlined, collaborative, educational environment, and also me committed to the safe, warm, and dry of these facilities. So I need this money for these fire alarm systems. Right, so that kind of created a foundational understanding of what we were trying to provide, what we were about, and what we also need to have the funding and everything for as a department. And then when it came to sending my team to a training, whatever else, so we can help fulfill those requirements, it was like, so you were denying us the capability of enhancing ourselves to be prepared for when this eventual thing happens. So we were doing whatever we could. So that, like John said, foundational issue, created the platform we worked off of, and then identified all these different training goals we needed to have to make us a well-rounded department, and then started creating those certificates and whatever else we needed to kind of figure out where to get that from, and then kind of take it from there.
Yeah, and the only follow-up I would do on the onboarding process, right? You have to set the tone with your department vision, mission statement of what you're trying to accomplish, but then you need to make that connection of what their role fits into fitting that bigger picture, because they're not just there to, again, clean the bathroom or to turn a wrench. It's like they are serving a bigger purpose. And so they have to understand how that fits into it so that, one, they see value in what they're doing, but also I think it's going to increase the respect of how they go about doing their job and seeing how they do fit into the big picture, how they're impacting, in that case, right, educational environment, what have you. But those, I think, are two very key components that we check the HR boxes, get them on board, put them to work. And it's like, no. Make sure that they understand what you're really trying to accomplish, which means you need to figure out what it is you're trying to accomplish. And then do not, like you said, you got your department involved. When you go to develop your vision, mission statement, do not do that in a bubble. Bring in everybody, the wrench turners, your custodial staff, have them all be part of that conversation, because they need to buy into that as well. And those are actually pretty fun. Those are pretty fun activities to do to get them engaged and get them seeing how what they do impacts the big picture. So.
Yeah, the employees need to understand the why. You talk about your past life and my past life. I was the editor of our contract cleaning books, and we always talked about, you know, getting the custodians and the janitors to understand why they're doing it. You can teach them how to disinfect these surfaces, but if you teach them this is why we're doing it so these kids stay healthy and can attend school, it sinks in better, and they're more apt to say, oh, I was doing it wrong. I'm going to listen to you now. I understand why I need to do it like this.
Yeah.
So
Well,
you got to create that buy-in for them.
And then they see, again, the value of what they're doing, that hopefully garners them even more respect in their role, so that they're less tempted by, hey, I can make 50 cents more, $1 more an hour and go someplace else. But it's like, yeah, but I'm more valued here as a person and as my contribution to the organization. And that, I think, will make a huge difference as well, especially in those industries like custodial that is such a high turnover, or even the issue that we're running into now on the skilled labor side is, how many of you had it where, hey, I got, you know, so-and-so starting on Monday and then they don't show up? I mean, I'm hearing that over and over again, and I'm sitting there going, these people are idiots. Because, you know what, maybe they got a better offer, great, good for them, but you do not burn bridges in this industry. It's a small industry. So very short-sighted on their part. But anyway, it's more of helping them to see the bigger picture. And again, it's a value statement to them, and answering that why. Why would they want to work for you? Because we value what you do, right? If you're going to go someplace because you're making $1 more, fine, whatever. But go to someplace where you're going to matter.
So we started to talk about industry certifications a little bit. You know, let's get into that some more, and, you know, talk about certifications for new hires, but also for established workers and their own career development. So kind of where do they fit in on this whole career path?
So if I could, so this is one of those, again, this is one of those participation situations, because there are also probably some certificates and programs I'm not even aware of that are out there. Would anyone kind of mind sharing some of the certifications that you all sought out right now for your staff, that you all may have yourself as well, that you all highly value too in your learning process or in your organization?
So for my team, my team consists of a facilities manager, two senior techs, and like maybe 8 maintenance techs. And so one of their part of their professional development plan was to take certifications. And so we were able to, some of them speak Spanish, some of them speak English, so we were able to define who takes what course in facilities management. And specifically, my senior techs had another course. It was more on the facilities management organizational side, where my maintenance techs had one geared to them that was more, how do you successfully complete multiple projects at one time?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I know.
That's a good one.
So they had to do that, provide myself with their certificate, and then this coming up, our new fiscal budget year, I'm going to enhance their skills again. So that's how I try to keep them engaged. One of the things that we work with children, so my team, I'm a certified playground inspector, and so that means my team should also be one too. And so trying to give them that autonomy to build their skills, and like you said, explain the why has been tremendous. It instead of directing and telling them what to do, it's the reason as to why we're doing it, so they have a better understanding of the reasons why they are there, like you said, fulfilling that mission.
So, oh man, it's a lot in that one that I want to dig into. So, first question, and I know I'm asking a question when I already just asked a question, but I have to highlight it. Is the importance of actually having budget for professional development? It's one of the areas that get cuts out of organizations, often, but also people don't usually put that as an importance for facilities management. It's kind of like, just do the work. I don't pay you to be advanced. Go on YouTube and figure out how to watch Bob Vila somewhere, kind of a thing. But essentially, just having the budget itself for professional development in facilities management, it's pretty huge. They'll have it for accounting, they'll have it for HR, they'll have it for finance, they'll have it for, whatever other department is within the organization. it typically does not exist or get cut out for facilities management. It's not a thing. It's like I'm putting money in fire extinguishers, not putting money for you to leave your building to go do this kind of thing. So that's huge to me that you all, are truly looking into that. Another one that I really wanted to highlight, we often, you said about the being able to manage multiple projects at once. Most of us just think that's kind of innate. I would, as a leader or something or a manager, or whatever. I hire you in this position that JD said you have to do all these different things. Well, you got to be able to do it. But some people are not skilled at it. Some people, some of us in this room right now who are in these roles are not the best at managing multiple things or answering emails and calling and texting. It's just that wide berth of experience that some people just don't have that. And I was reflecting back on some of the things I've done for clients, and it seems like the McKinsey, the big three type, consulting firms that are out here doing all this stuff. But one of the things we just don't do is even like a DISC survey, right? So truly understanding what our strengths and weaknesses are as individuals and then also within our teams as well. I mean, some of us might think, we probably all think that we're in facilities management when we're all decisiveness, we're all D, and we're all, we all just need to be D within our team to really be successful. And then not thinking about the intuitiveness of the I's and the steadiness of the S's and the conscientiousness of the C's and the importance of C's. Somebody has to really get into the weeds on things. Not everyone can just run into the fire. And a lot of times we often think, I wish he could just write an email. He can't write a freaking email, But we're all like looking for the D person, the decisiveness, running into the fire every time, and not thinking about the importance and the sensitivity that comes with the C person, and how we're in our hiring process, we need to focus on that type of role and not just a bunch of mirrors on us, right? Ones that look just like us or ones we think the role should fit. So kudos to you in that regard to, again, some of the trainings you named, and because they're not unique. Most of them are just like, go out and learn FM stuff only. That's not FM stuff. That's project management stuff. That's life enhancement. That's truly focusing on the person itself and their professional development plan. Did you all hear that? I mean, that's focused. It's not just everyone gets the exact same. It's individualized personnel learning, which is huge. And I hope we're, if we're not writing it down, we're all thinking about, do I have a plan? Do I have a personalized plan? Or I got the same one as Jack and Brian and Kim? And we're all just going to the exact same thing, and we're all watching the exact same YouTube videos on sexual harassment and everything else, which is really important too, but also about my personalized development as well. Do I have that in place or not?
Right. And while Dan's going to ask that question, the one thing I would also encourage you to do is with those different certifications, the fact you said you have a development plan is awesome, right? That they each have that. But as your team gets those certifications, how many of you all likely have a facilities intranet webpage that people go to submit service requests or XYZ, right? Use that to passively sell the value of what your team does. So as somebody gets, so Joe gets a certification, then I'm going to highlight Joe's certification on that page as well, right? Because this is all these opportunities to passively sell, because it starts educating even our internal stakeholders and customers of, look, we're not just the Maytag man waiting in the back for somebody to call us. Yeah. It does require training and skill sets to do what we do. So use that opportunity to passively sell and educate those folks you serve, because it will make it likely easier for you to get that budget that keeps getting taken from you, right? So highlight those and use that.
We're constantly looking for like EPA 608, so they can work on refrigerants. And actually, our company will provide that training or send them to school to try to get that, just to, help out our team.
Yep.
So very specialized training within your organization as well, to make sure they can do this work in-house versus hiring it out. That's also very key as well. So not only do you have this individualized learning on the person, but also on the systems you all are using as well. And you can just kind of attach all those. So those might be standardized within a group of staff or within a department, saying, I need this to be a part of your standard training for this role, but then individualized assessment. So maybe when they're coming in as a new employee, talk about onboarding. Now we're doing a DISC survey. Now that you're here, right? You can't do that during the interviewing process. Make sure to clarify that. You cannot do it during then, but you can do it after they're onboarded. Do a disc survey, another ones as well, personality test, understand what does that person need, and also a skills assessment. I know I keep talking about the fact that what I do for some of the different organizations I work with, a skills assessment, even after they're there, is still very important, ongoing wise. So, I mean, it's very important to do that in place because, again, that skill that you thought that person had really may not be a strong skill of theirs, something they really don't value very much, something they don't want to build upon, something that they don't really care that much about. So still getting that snapshot of knowing where your organization is and what you really need, what you think you need, is still very important.
Yeah. One question I'll ask to you guys, and I got a feeling some of you are going to plead the fifth on this, is how many of you, or maybe you feel like your own management kind of has that mindset of why would we want to train them up and get them certifications because they would just basically leave us? Okay. So we can't have that mindset. And that actually backs us up to what we addressed earlier of if we're showing them a career development path and we're also selling to them, look, this is how valuable you are to, I can say that easily.
Valuable.
Thank you.
Yeah.
To the organization, my brain's going faster than my tongue. To the organization, it's going to make it more likely that they will stay. So that's why this kind of needs to be a comprehensive approach here and in investing in them. The beauty of online, because when I got into it, you didn't have all the online tutorials and things readily available to you today. It was these monster books that you had to go through to get these different certifications. So now you've got these different online educational tools that are available at their fingertips so they can kind of go at a self-pace and bite size and not say, hey, you got to go spend X number of days. So that helps. The other thing I would encourage you to do is, and I know some of you have already alluded to this already, is some of that cross-training that you do internally. Right? I'll give you a really good example. We do, I help clients write kind of their emergency operating procedures, maintenance operating procedures on the facility side. So, again, most organizations likely have, the disaster recovery, business continuity, active shooter type of big picture events. But on the facility side, do you guys have your emergency preparedness because the most common thing you're going to have is a power anomaly or a power outage. So do you have emergency operating procedures that are, hey, if we have a power outage, you need to go make sure that the generator started, the ATS transferred. If the generator didn't start, ATS didn't transfer, you have a procedure that says, how do you start the generator? How do you manually transfer the ATS? I go look at the UPSs to make sure that they're still online, et cetera. So you got these checklists. Right, and this is going to be all across the board, all different type of equipment and system failures that we could have within a facilities department. Well, guess what? I'm going to have different technicians that are going to be more specialized. Let's say, I'm going to say my generator ATS, if I'm picking on that one. I've got somebody that might understand UPSs a little bit better. Well, when we go to start doing that cross-training, and how many of you have actually done training or taught people before? Okay, that makes you have to know your stuff even better. So that technician that maybe knows my generators and ATSs, I'm going to have them lead that training, that annual review of that EOP to the rest of the staff because it makes them have to be sharper, but they're also sharing their knowledge with everybody else, right? And then they're also allowing that opportunity for people to go, okay, I know I can go ask so-and-so if I've got a question on that when we run into that type of issue again. So take advantage of the knowledge that you have inside your own department. I know when I've taught classes before, I've had, and that's actually one of the reasons I even got into doing training to begin with, was I wanted to go educate, but I actually really wanted to go learn. Because I've had classes, just like even in here, I've had classes where I have 400 to 500 years of experience sitting in the room. Yeah. There's so much knowledge in so many different ways and things that we can learn from each other. So then take that information, cross-pollinate, and then go share it. You can do that within your own organization.
One of the things that I just had to reflect on this in this moment that I always so enjoy when I'm up here with John especially, but I'm also at NFMT too with Dan. He allows us to talk about these kind of topics that are not all technical. Right? This is not a technical conversation. This is a person-to-person, personal advancement. How do we solve this major problem still in front of us? And it's not going to be fixed with a widget or a new piece of software. It's not going to be solved with some new tool. This is just truly how are we going to invest in ourselves and how are we going to really dig down into this and who's going to help us do it. help ourselves, a lot of times ourselves doing it. How can we do this? And I don't know. I just had to just kind of stop and just say just that the time that we're able to spend on this very topic is going to probably be one of the most effective conversations you're going to have in this conference, to me at least. Not because of it's us, but because you get to change. Well, because it's us.
I got it. I didn't want you to hurt yourself.
It's because it's us. Yeah, I can't reach my back well enough. I want to get the middle of it, but also because something that's really going to change you, how you think about your career, yourself, your own investment, and the immediate person next to you when you go back to your offices or go back to whatever organization you work with. You're going to start asking immediate questions. You're going to start texting. I'm assuming he's like, I'm trying to find the answers on ChatGPT right now, actually, probably. I've got to solve his problems right this very second. What is my mission, ChatGPT, and trying to figure that out and craft it all the way out. But whatever that is, these are things that you're going to think about for the rest of the conference, I believe, and definitely on your rides back of how to really effectuate immediate change and easy change, right? This is not all of it is budget affecting. It will eventually, but immediately this is just figuring out, sitting with yourself a little bit and saying, how do we want to figure this out? What is necessary within my team? What can I do? And who can I go get the help out?
Yeah. And these are some key things that you can utilize to, again, help sell the value of your department so that you can justify their resources and so on and so forth, which leads us into the upcoming huddle discussions that we're going to go have. So we'll be having that. I know I'll actually be talking about selling the value of facility management across the hallway there.
Yeah, like you mentioned, John, we're going to be mentioning or talking about these topics in our huddle happy hour right across the way. We're going to be talking about marketing to the C-suite, getting those budgets approved, training and retaining your staff, as well as encouraging, young FMs to join the industry. And there's one point I wanted to make, John. You were talking about, being afraid of training these people and then they leave. And one thing you always like to say, and you didn't mention it here, so I wanted to bring it up again, is even worse than training that person and giving them the tools to succeed in life and moving on, worse is if you don't train them and then they stay in your organization.
Yeah.
Very true.
Okay.
Very true.
And this morning Andy Gager talked about, the 10% of your bottom feeders, and if you don't train those bottom feeders, they're going to stick around because it's a cushy gig here. So, hey, we made it through 3 questions again, guys.
Woo!
We set the bar real low for ourselves so we can walk over it. So kudos. We are out of time for questions, but they will be moderating the happy hour across the way. So if you have questions for Clarence and John, please bring them, join their discussion. Thank you guys for sticking around for this afternoon session. Thank you guys for talking.